So now the goal of step 3 is to roll our line item data up on the month level. So we're going to like aggregate all the totals up to month. So we want to calculate the monthly revenue because we're going to use that monthly revenue for each different product to calculate the percentage of the sales mix that each product has in a given month. So if we sell lots of organic Hawaiian Light, and that's our main one, it might have 50% of the sales for that month. And that's what we're trying to get at so that we can plot these. So again, I've just opened up a clean Excel workbook so that I can invoke Power Query. I'm going to go do that and get data from Excel workbook. And I've created a new folder called Step 3. And we're going to use the ending point of Step 2 with our revenue and profit margin. I'm just going to go ahead and load that. Now, it gets a little hairy here because it's bringing all these extra worksheets along with it. So you got to keep track of stuff. But we put our data in join data. I think these are the same, join data and join data 1. We just want to go over and make sure that we have our line item revenue in there. That's the one that we're interested in. Then we're going to transform it. It's going to get a little slower as we go because we're dealing with more data. But we're about ready to fix that because we're going to shrink it, the number of rows, because we're aggregating up to months. Okay, so in order to aggregate up to months, we're going to pull out our month and our year out of order date. So I'm going to highlight order date. I'm going to go to add columns down to month, and we'll do month. It'll bring out the number. I'm going to scroll back over, click on order date, and bring out the year. And there's the number month and the number year. And we want to then group by this. So our starting point is we want to take month and year, and we're going to roll the data up. So everything that has month 1 in year 2023 is going to get rolled up into January 2023. And we're going to be rolling up our item revenue. But it's not quite that simple because we also want to roll it up not just by month and year, but we want to group it by our product. And so you can see here we've got our product ID. Where are we here? Our product ID 250. See here, 250 is always organic Guatemalan, medium, bag size 10 pounds. Those first 3 rows are product 250, and they're all organic Guatemalan, medium, bag size in pounds. So we don't need this extra stuff. Product ID is sufficient to uniquely identify a product. And so we're just going to go ahead and deal with that. So let's do this. You could highlight all the columns you're interested in. So let's say we want month, year, and product ID. I'm just going to do month, year, and show you how we do this. So if I go to transform and I use group by, it's going to take my 2 highlighted columns and say, okay, you want to group by month and year, but I also want to add in product ID. Now I could go ahead and add in coffee origin, roast type, and bag size, but they're always going to correspond to whatever product ID there is. So I can just bring those in later. So let's just keep things simple and do those 3. And then I want to calculate the total monthly, talk about identifying a row. This is going to be the total monthly revenue for the product. And you'll see this in a minute. I'm not going to write all that out, but every row is going to correspond to a specific month, a specific year, and a specific product. A unique combination of those 3 things. I'm going to sum my line item revenue because I want to roll it up from individual line items to, I'm going to take all 1 month's line items and merge it into one line, aggregate it into one line. And I could do the cost too. Right now, I just want to use revenue to be able to get a percentage that of a product that I sold in a given monthly revenue. So if I've got a monthly revenue of $500,000 and one type of coffee sold 50,000, that would be 10% of the product mix. And that's what I want to get at. So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. Okay, so that, notice my rows shrunk significantly. I can go down and there's a unique row for every month, year, and product ID. So if I scroll down far enough, I get through all my products, and then I start the next month in the year, and I scroll down and I repeat all the same products, and then we keep adding products as we go, as we've been in business, and so you'll start to see that. But what I want to do is I want to then take these product IDs and I want to pivot them to be column headers so that I can calculate the total monthly revenue. This is kind of badly named. This is the revenue per month per product. And so I'm just going to call it revenue. But again, you got to keep track of what this represents. So I'm going to unpivot these product IDs. Actually, I'm going to pivot them. So I'm going to highlight product ID, and then I'm going to pivot on transform, pivot, column. And then it says what column in here is going to contain the values that you want to be placed under every column header that comes out of here. So there's going to be a column header 250, and it for January 2023, and it's going to place 432 under there. So I want to use revenue. You're just going to have to play with it back and forth and convince yourself that you know how these numbers are moving. See, so how it took my product ID and it pivoted to column headers, and then it actually took the revenue for that product in that month. And so now when I've got it like this, what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to add up the entire row to get my total monthly revenue. And this is going to be easier to do inside Excel. But notice there's some nulls here. So I'm going to replace all those nulls with 0, because if there's a null, that means we didn't sell that product that month. So I'm just going to hold down Control Shift and highlight all those product ID columns. And come up here to, where is it, transform, it's home, replace values, and anything that's null, I'm going to replace with 0. So this is a place where we want to then load it back into Excel so that we can do some easier column calculations. But what we've done is we aggregated up to the month level, and then we pivoted the product IDs out to column headers. And you'll see how this is going to allow us to calculate product mix. I'm going to go ahead and close and load. Wait for it to load. You'll notice we can do a sanity check here because we pivoted product numbers out. We have 3 months. They go in groups of, we have 3 for every month, and that makes sense because we have 3 years of data. So we got January of 2023, January 2024, 2025, and then we've got all the revenue made by each of the products. And so that's where we want to be. So that's the end of step 3. I'm just going to go ahead and save this file. In my step 3 folder. We started with that step 2 file. We're going to call this step 3, call it month, roll up month, and pivot. All right, let's get ready for step 4.